So today I was thinking we could go ahead and we could start building our Power BI portfolio project. So the first thing that I like to do when I'm kind of building out a Power BI portfolio project is I actually like to go and look at Power BI dashboards that I might like. So I'll typically actually Google Power BI dashboards. And I'll start to kind of scroll through some images and I'll find some that are really pretty and that I think are pretty cool. So um, I'm not a huge fan. I kind of like this glassy look. Um, this one's not bad, but there's no. So one of the things a lot of these like dashboard demos don't tend to integrate is they don't tend to integrate a good spot for like where to put slicers. Right? Like I love a good slicer, and if there's no like such thing as a slicer panel, it can be tough. I also will say I also really like ones with white backgrounds. So something like this is actually probably in the style I like. It's a good layout. Um, but it doesn't have like I think this like color can be kind of a lot. Um, so what am I gonna do? Alright, I think for now, I think we'll go ahead and we'll start with this Power BI dashboard. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually open up PowerPoint and I'm going to paste this in. So let me go ahead and actually paste in this dashboard. All right, so let's go ahead and let's delete this out. And give it a second. Hopefully it will. Nope. I don't think it will. Let me paste this in. So let me go copy image. And also, sorry, I'm a little spacey. I'm still kind of trying to figure out the streaming. It's a little bit of a challenge sometimes. Like for example, like let me just check my phone and make sure that I'm actually like going live the way I want to. So give me 1 second. All right. And okay, give me 1 second. All right, live. Oh, nice. Okay. All right, I am. Okay, that's cool. All right. So let's go ahead and let's actually start to build this out. So here you can see I've got kind of PowerPoint in here, and I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to maybe fit this to the screen. So I'm going to go, give me 1 second so you guys can fully see what I'm doing. And I'm going to go fit to screen. Oh, and that just really messed with the wrong video. Whew. Man, this is a little bit of a challenge. All right. Transform. Fit to screen. Okay. All right, nice. I think that's probably a little bit better. So now you guys can at least see my full screen. All right, so now that we're back on this dashboard building and I've kind of settled that this is the one I want to build, I'm going to first go ahead and I'm going to shrink this down. And I'm going to actually kind of build out like what these blocks might look like. Right? So if we start to kind of wireframe this, what we have is we have a title up top, right? Then we have some slicers over here. So like for example, like we got a slicer here, right? And then we have another slicer over here, right there, right? We then kind of have a few other blocks. So we then have slicer panel or like kind of section over here, right? And then we have another longer section over here, right? And then we'll kind of go through and we'll put in like finally like a larger section over here. All right, so I think I know what I want to do there. So I'm going to open up Power BI Desktop. And when you're designing a portfolio project, and this is where this gets a little tricky, you don't really have any requirements, so you're more so designing based on what you want your dashboard to look like versus like what like a stakeholder might like actually ask you for, which it gets probably a little tricky, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna select a rounded rectangle, and I'm gonna actually start to kind of build some of this stuff out. So I'm gonna first build my section over here, right? And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna build my section over here, right? So this will be my slicer panel over here. Oh, let me just go through, and I'm gonna build my slicer panel over here, right? And then I'm gonna build right here, kind of my other like visual section, right? And then I'm gonna have my larger visual section over here. Okay, so you can kind of start to see how this is gonna shape out, right? And this is some pretty basic wireframing. I'm gonna make this a little bit more narrow, and I'm gonna make this go over here. I'm gonna go here, right? So this might not look like much, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually start to build these into something. So the first thing I'm gonna do, right, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna move this over so this also gets a little bit of space. So the first thing I'm gonna do with these shapes is I'm gonna change the rounding. So I'm gonna make them so they're less round. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna search, because they're always changing the formatting pattern, and I'm gonna change this to round. And so see here, see they have rounded quarters of 25%. I'm gonna drop that down to like probably, I don't know, probably like maybe even a little less than that. So like so they're just like subtly round, right? So that was what? That's a round of 3%. Let's take a look at what that might look like. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm gonna do the same with all of these. So okay, there's 3% there, and then I'm gonna do the same here. So that's also 3%. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to try and get these like nice and evenly distributed. So I'm going to go up to format, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go distribute horizontally, right? And then I'm going to go align middle. Okay. And I think those are actually looking pretty good. Yeah. Okay, and we'll get this off blue, and then finally I'm going to just also go up here and I'm going to also change this to just 3%. And if we look, and I'll get this nice and even there, and then I'll go over here and I'll get this nice and even. Okay, so how are we looking? Nice, we're looking pretty good. Okay, so now we need to actually work on the background of this dashboard. So I always like going with like a nice, like super light neutral gray. And I like it to be a solid background. So like that's probably a little too gray even for me. So I'd probably like honestly, like you just want it to be really, really light. So there we go. And then what I like to do is I actually like to make these be white. Let's see, let's go here and let's go color. There's going to be a fill, and I'm going to make these be white. And I'm going to also go white, and I'm going to go on. Okay, good. We don't have any glow on. Okay, so now what we're starting to look for is we're actually starting to like have like a pretty good little section here. So the next part of this is going to be headers, right? So, and then what I'm thinking is I'm going to use kind of like a card visual here, like down here. We'll have a bigger graph here. We'll have kind of filters or like filter panels over here on the side, and then we'll have like our header and like our time frame slicers up here. So I think on our previous stream we were talking about data and where to actually go and get data. So if we go back over here and we go to the Microsoft GitHub, right? And so here we are, the Microsoft GitHub, and we search Power BI. And we go over here, and there's going to be this AdventureWorks sample, right? And there's going to be this XLS. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to download that file. So now that I have that file, let's take a look at what it looks like. So give it a second to load, and let's see what we got. Because I think this will be good for kind of our data modeling. So what you can see here is, so we have our actual orders, we have the channel, we have the order line, we've got our territories, there's a sales territory key, we have our sales data, so we've got order, sales order line key. Okay, so there is kind of a sub table here of sales order. We have sales territory, so the sales territory key will go here. We have our reseller data, so we've got a reseller key. And is there a reseller key in here? Yes, there is. Okay. We have oh, they gave us a date table, so that's pretty nice. So we got a nice date table here with a date key. Then we have product data, so we'll go product data, and then we have customer data. So the model that I am probably going to build, like realistically, is going to be a model that's going to be, I'm probably not going to include the sales order data, but I will probably build a star schema with the sales order data at the center, and then the sales territory data, the reseller data, and then the date data and product data and customer data in it. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've built a few different kind of versions of these dashboards. So like here, if we go and we open up example 1. So I built something kind of like this. So like, right, so here's one example of kind of my ones that I've built that's like a little interactive. And then I've built also this example like this right here. And so like what you can kind of get a feel for if you'll wait for this to load is kind of like the style of which I like to build. Right, so like here's kind of our other one, right, our other dashboard that we have. So we actually start to kind of have a few little portfolios here. So I save these as, actually, where do I save these? So I have these on my OneDrive, right, in Documents, Power BI. And I just, kind of keep them. They're good examples of my work and like kind of my visual style. So, oh, I might have just lost that Power BI file. Well, that sucks. Yeah, it looks like I just lost it. Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna restart doing what I did there. But I guess first we'll build our data model. So I'll go File, Save As, and I'm gonna go browse this device, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna save this in here, and I'm gonna save it as example 3, right? And then I'm just gonna go through and really quickly redo what we had done. So we had, if we go back up, we had a shape, right, with rounded edges, and we had a big one here. And I'm going to make this be big, and I'm going to go formatting, rounded corners, right, and I'm going to change this to 3. And then I'm going to go and drop this down, right, so dropping that down, and then going slightly wider here. And finally, we're going to have our big box right here. So the plan, right, is to, if I go format canvas, I'm going to go my canvas background. And I think I had done like a really light gray. I dropped transparency down to 0. And all these should have rounded corners. And I'm going to make sure that these are all aligned at the top. I'm going to make sure that these are all aligned at the bottom. Then I'm going to distribute them out here. Just like that. Nice. And I will make sure that they get an even border on the side. And then we'll go back up here and we will drop that down. But this is like a little shorter than I had before, so I'm going to actually go and I'm going to drop this down even a little bit more. And I'm going to make this like a little bit bigger. There we go. That's nice. And then I'm going to format these as white. So I'm holding the shift key, going down, and I'm going to go fill. And I'm going to go white. And then I'm going to go border. I'm going to go white here. Nice. Okay, and then one thing, this is always kind of tough when you're working with like rounded rectangles. Something looks a little off here. So I'll go here, just trying to get these all equal. And I'm just eyeballing this, like, frankly. But one of the things I always, like, oh, that's too much on that side. There we go. There we go. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and I'll expand this down a little bit right there. Okay. Nice. All right. There we go. But one thing you might notice, right, is so a 3% on this box looks a lot bigger than a 3% on the other box. Similarly, this needs to be a little bit closer there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to like up the rounded on this one. And I'll go up to like 5. Let's see what 5% looks like. 5% is not quite the same. Also, this one just looks, see, this one looks a little too rounded. And this is one of the fun things about these boxes, right? Is because they're like proportionally kind of set like this. It's a little tough. So yeah, but anyway, okay, so here we go. We're kind of back where we started, so I'm gonna hit save. Always hit save in Power BI. Things constantly crash. And then we have our Excel file right here, which, you know, like our Excel file, just kind of, we were just reviewing that before I lost that Power BI file. So I'm going to go into data and I'm going to go home and then get data. And I'm going to go into my Excel workbook and I'm going to select that Excel workbook. So I'm actually going to go into AdventureWorks here. And I'm going to let that load. Also, I think I noticed that my video has gotten a little messed up, so I'm going to quickly